actually windows. And they said, you're going to sleep over here, and we're going to sleep on the other side. And that night, we decided to go to bed. And the father came over, and he said, Nick, I just want to warn you that if, he said, there's a tribe across the river. And he said, if they were to come over here, you need to pretend to be dead. And I was like, okay. He's like, I was like, why? He said, because they're cannibalistic, and which means you eat people. And so he said, if they notice that you're awake and you're catching them, if they're in an act of stealing something, they may get upset and try to eat you. And so I thought, okay, he's pulling one over on the American. I'm not stupid. I'm from East Tennessee, you know. And kind of like I know this. So I just went to sleep. I was like, thank you. I went to sleep. Had no problem sleeping that night. The next morning we got up and we went down to the river. We were along the Zambezi River, bordering Zambia, and there was a catfish about this big that had walked up on the shore and was breathing oxygen. So this is a different place from where I was from, and biggest catfish I've ever seen. And we get in the boat, we go upstream, and we're going to drift downstream and fish. And halfway through that, he said, "Now see that tribe over there? That tribe over there is the one that I was telling you about last night." And I was like, "Okay." And he said, see the circle there around their fire? He said that's where they do all their sacrifices and so forth. And I began to see evidence of these sacrifices. And so it clicked in my mind that what he was telling me the night before was in fact true. That this Zambian tribe was cannibalistic. And so me being wanting to be cool, I just kind of played it off and went along, and we finished our day until night came. We all know it gets scarier at night. So I'm in my bed, and he comes back over and he says, "Hey, just so you know, I wanted to remind you that this group of people may come over here. And actually, they're more likely to come over here now because they've seen us." And he said, you know, so they come over here, remember, what are you doing? I'm like, play dead. Play dead. And so he left, and I began to shake. I was so afraid. And it was very difficult for me in that moment to surrender my life and faith to Jesus. Even after God had brought me there, in that moment, I began to question God's wisdom. I said, God, why are you bringing a small town East Tennessee boy halfway across the world, out of the middle of nowhere, putting him next door to a cannibalistic tribe that would feed him? You know, why are you doing this to me? But Jesus was calling me to surrender my life and faith. And as quick as that fear came, the fear went away. And what Paul describes in verse 16 happened. Follow with me. I pray that out of his glorious riches, that he may strengthen you with power through the Spirit in your inner being, so that Christ may dwell in your hearts through faith. God used that moment to move me into the next level of maturity. And he began to show me how to move from a mental understanding of Scripture to a heart-level understanding of Scripture. And he started to mature me. Now that was not a very easy process. Maturity and growth is always difficult. But God did move me. He helped me to understand what embracing him and surrendering my life to faith looked like. The final thing I'd like to talk about this morning is how we as a church can embrace the full